Okay, Mom. Hi again. So it did record. I just can't listen to it or hear it play back unless I put in the headphones. And because Jim may be coming home, I'll just do this so maybe it'll block out any other noises in the house. All right, so back to chapter 25, Spiritual Voices, top of page 187, the first full paragraph. So it's important to stay conscious. Beginners on the spiritual path are easily deceived when they start having visions and revelations. Personally, I did not experience visions and voices until God, in His great goodness, had already brought me to the prayer of union. Except, that is, for the time I saw Christ many years ago. Oh, if only His Majesty had allowed me to understand then, as I understand now, that this was a true vision, it would have done me so much good. When visions and revelations come from the spirit of evil, they do not leave tender effects in the soul. Instead, she feels frightened and agitated afterward. I'm absolutely certain that the spirit of evil could never deceive a soul who really questions herself. Nor would God allow a soul who is fortified in the faith, a soul who would suffer 1,000 deaths for one of its sacred teachings, to be deluded by false phenomena. With this love of the faith, a living faith that God Himself pours into the soul, she strives to act in harmony with the doctrines of the Church. Grounded in her commitment, she checks her experiences and beliefs with this person and that person. Even if the heavens themselves were to open to her, the soul would not be tempted to deviate in the slightest degree from what the Church holds to be sacred. Say the soul sometimes wavers in her thoughts about the faith. Say she hears a voice or sees a vision that conflicts with it in some way. Then she should not consider the revelation safe. The same would be true if the soul were to find herself saying, "If God is telling me this, it must be true, just as what He said to the saints was true." I don't mean that the soul actually believes this, but this is the way the spirit of evil first tries to tempt the soul. Even to linger over these thoughts for more than a moment is very risky. But I really feel that if the soul is strong in the faith, she will not be tempted by this kind of pride. The same Lord who grants the soul these divine gifts gives her the power to resist delusions. Fortified in this way, the soul is inclined to defend even the most minor teaching of the Church. I mean, if a soul is not strong in the faith and she has a vision that does not strengthen it, she should not trust the revelation. She may not immediately notice the harmful effects, but they accumulate over time. Here is what I see and know through experience. The proof that a spiritual voice has a divine origin is that it conforms to Holy Scripture. Even if I think that the experience comes from the Spirit of God, the slightest deviation from Scripture would assure me that the Spirit of God is its true source. In such cases, there is no need to go searching for signs or to wonder what spirit is responsible for the revelation. The discrepancy is the only sign I need to convince me that it comes from the spirit of evil. If the whole world were to conspire to persuade me that it comes from the Spirit of God, I would not believe it. Here's another sign. When we hear voices that come from the spirit of evil, all blessings seem to run away and hide. This leaves the soul feeling restless and touchy. She gleans nothing but negative effects from the experience. Even though she may think she is inspired to do good things, her desires quickly wither. These false voices give the soul false humility. What she considers humble is only anxious and confused. I think anyone who has heard the voice of the good spirit will understand this distinction. Still, the devil's tricks can be subtle. The best way to protect yourself is to question each experience and seek wise counsel. Make sure you have a spiritual director who is learned. Hide nothing from him. No harm can come to you in this way. Well, I have to amend that last statement. Quite a bit of harm has come to me because of the excessive fears of certain men. And we read about that in part 2, did we not? At one time, a group of men I deeply trusted got together and had a long discussion about me in hopes of coming up with a remedy for my soul. I had good reason to trust these men. They loved me and only wanted the best for me. They were concerned that I might be deceived by the devil. When I was not in prayer, I shared their fears. But as soon as I prayed, God always granted me some favor and reassured me. At first, I only had direct contact with one of the men, but after he gave me permission to contact the others, I spoke to all of them. I think there were 5 or 6 of them. They were all faithful servants of God. We have unanimously concluded that your experiences came from the devil, my confessor reported. We decided that it is not good for you to receive communion so often, and that you should stop spending so much time alone. I was terrified, and my heart trouble only made matters worse. I didn't dare be by myself in a room during the day in case I slipped into an ecstasy or started hearing voices. All these men were convinced that my experiences came from the spirit of evil, when I could not believe this myself, and I became deeply conflicted. I was afraid that my inability to agree with them was the result of a sinful lack of humility on my part. Look at who they were. They all led incomparably better lives than mine, and they were learned men besides. How can I not believe them? I tried to force myself to agree with their conclusions. I focused my thoughts on my wretched life and decided that because of this, what they were saying about me must be true. In deep distress, I walked out of the church and into an oratory. I had not received communion for many days, and I had been avoiding solitude, both of which were major sources of comfort for me. I had no one to talk to. Everyone was against me. Whenever I tried to share my experiences with them, it seemed like they were ridiculing me, implying that I was making it all up. Some people warned my confessor to watch out for me. Others insisted that the voices I was hearing came from the devil. Only my confessor consoled me. Although he took their side, I found out later that he did that just to test me. I wonder if she's giving them more credit. I really don't know. I'd like to read their books of their lives here, see what they wrote about these events. My confessor had told me that even if my experiences came from Satan, he couldn't hurt me as long as I did nothing to offend God. He said I should pray earnestly, and if the voices were truly diabolical, God would take them away. Many people started praying for me, my confessor, his brothers, and other servants of God who knew of my troubles. I joined my prayers with theirs. For nearly 2 years we spent a large portion of our prayer time beseeching His Majesty to lead me by some other path. But when I reflected that the voices I had heard so often might come from the spirit of evil, I became inconsolable. Since I was no longer setting aside special hours for solitary prayer, the Lord took it upon Himself to bring me into a state of recollection in the middle of an ordinary conversation. Then He would say whatever He pleased, and there was absolutely nothing I could do about it. Even though I did not want to listen, I had to. I was terribly alone. There was no one I could confide in, no one to support me. I could not pray out loud. I could not read. I was confounded by unrelenting strife and in constant fear that the spirit of evil was going to deceive me. I was totally agitated and thoroughly exhausted. I didn't know what to do with myself. I have experienced intense distress many times in my life, but never as extreme as this. I would burn with this pain for 4 or 5 hours at a time. There was no solace for me from heaven or from earth. The Lord left me to suffer and to fear 1,000 invisible dangers. Oh, my Lord, you are a true friend. How powerful you are. You can do everything it is in your will to do. And as long as we never stop loving, you never stop willing. And as long as we never stop loving, you never stop willing. All things praise you, Lord of the universe. Oh, who will be the voice to cry out for you, proclaiming throughout the world how faithful you are to your friends? All things pass away. You, Lord of all, endure forever. The suffering you allow those who love you to endure is minuscule. You treat us so tenderly, Lord, so delicately and delightfully. If only none of us would ever pause for a moment to love anyone but you. If only none of us would ever pause for a moment to love anyone but you. It seems, Lord, that you vigorously challenge the one who loves you so that in the depths of his trial he will discover the depths of your love for him. Oh my God, if only I had the intelligence, the education, and an entirely new language to express your wonders as my soul understands them. Words fail me, my Lord. Everything fails me. But as long as you do not abandon me, I will not fail you. Let all learned men rise up against me. Let all created things persecute me. Let all the spirits of evil torment me. Do not fail me, Lord. I have already tasted the blessings and refuge you give to those who trust in you alone. As I sat in the oratory, weary to my core, I suddenly heard a voice say, "Have no fear, my daughter, for I am, and I will never leave you. Have no fear." Although I had not yet begun to have visions, these words alone were enough to lift my burden completely. Even if there had been a human being alive who could have soothed my soul, and there wasn't, it would have taken many hours, and still no one would have been able to persuade me to be at peace. And behold, in a single moment, this voice brought me calm, courage, strength, security, deep quietude, and radiant light. I watched my soul transform before my own eyes. I think at the time I would have denied to the whole world that I had heard the voice of God. Oh, what a good God! Oh, how good the Lord is and how powerful! He not only writes the prescription, but delivers the cure. His words are works, O Lord, help me. Look how he bolsters our faith and intensifies our love. And so, as I had done so many times before, I pondered the day when Christ commanded the winds to be quiet during a storm at sea. Who is this? I asked myself, whose words all my faculties instantly obey? Who pours out his light and banishes the densest darkness in a single moment? Who melts this heart of stone? Who gives the water of holy tears when it seemed like the drought would last forever? Who inspires these desires and bestows this courage? This made me wonder. What am I afraid of? What is this? All I want to do is serve this Lord. I have no other goal than to please my beloved. It's not my own happiness that I want, or relief, or any other benefit. The only blessing I seek is to do your will. In that moment I felt so confident of this truth that it was effortless to affirm it. If this Lord is powerful, I reminded myself, as I see that he is, and know that he is, and if evil spirits are his slaves, as I have no doubt that they are, since this is an article of faith, and if I am a servant of this master, then what harm can they do me? Why shouldn't this love give me the strength to battle all of hell? I picked up a cross, and it really did feel like God was infusing me with courage. Within a short time I found myself so radically transformed that I would have been perfectly comfortable wrestling with demons. With that cross in my hand, I felt like I could easily vanquish any evil. Come on now, all of you, I said. I am a servant of the Lord, and I'd like to see what you can do to me. It became obvious to me that I was intimidating to the little devils because I grew very calm. All my fears drained away and never came back. I still encountered spirits of evil from time to time, but I wasn't afraid of them anymore. In fact, it seemed like they were afraid of me. The Lord of all gave me authority over them, and now I pay no more attention to them than I do to buzzing flies. They are such cowards that when someone doesn't care about them, they lose all their strength. The only time that they have any power is when they see people giving in to their attacks, or when it is God's will to let them tempt his servants and put them through trials for their own good. May we always be in awe of the one who deserves our awe, and may we understand that sometimes one small transgression can cause more trouble than all the sins of hell. These demons frighten us because we set ourselves up to be frightened. These demons frighten us because we set ourselves up to be frightened. We are overly attached to our reputations, possessions, and pleasures. When we love and desire what we should be rejecting, we are in conflict with our true selves. That's when the negative energies catch us and use our own weapons against us. Instead of taking up what we have to defend ourselves, we put our swords into the hands of our enemies and make them attack us. What a shame. But if we embrace the cross, reject everything but God, and devote ourselves to serving him, the devil will avoid us like the plague. He is a friend of lies. He is the lie itself. He will have nothing to do with anyone who walks in truth. When he sees that a person's inner sight is darkening, he will rush in to put out the light altogether. If he sees that a person has put her trust in worldly things as a child puts her trust in toys, he will treat that person like a child and attack her over and over again. May it please God that I am not so blind. May his majesty help me find refuge in the true source of refuge. By true honor may I know what honor is, and delight by true delight. I thumb my nose at all the spirits of evil. They shall be afraid of me. I don't understand these fears. Why do we run around crying, the devil, when we can be saying, God, God, and make the devils tremble? We know perfectly well that the spirit of evil cannot move a muscle unless the Lord lets him. What is this? Without a doubt, I fear those who fear the devil more than I fear the devil himself. He can't do anything to me, but these men, especially if they are confessors, can wreak a terrible havoc. They tormented me so badly for so many years that I can't believe I was able to endure it. Blessed be the Lord who truly helped me. So I'll stop here for the chapter 25. And I think in chapter 26 is short. I'll read that right now. Love you, Mom, and I will talk to you later. Enjoying reading with you. Bye.